Eden's Montrose out to Lake Cook Road, 15 minutes inbound at 42 minutes. On the tri-state, we have reports that I-88 traffic is slow southbound with 2 right lanes blocked with an accident. And DuSable Lakeshore Drive, northbound still delayed at Chicago Avenue from an earlier accident. This report is a service of the AM560 mobile app. Listen to AM560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. From the AM560 Traffic Center, I'm Marty Jones.
Now, your official weather forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Tonight will be partly cloudy and humid with a low of 68. On Friday, expect humid conditions with some sunshine and a high of 86. Friday night will be partly cloudy and humid with a late thunderstorm possible and a low of 69. Saturday will be partly sunny with a high of 85. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560 The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios.
This hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all else. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
My next guest is truly a legend. He is somebody who has had the blessing, really, of living through an extremely important time in history, and he has been right there at arguably one of the most important positions. And what I mean by that is he's not just a best-selling author, of which he is. He's a best-selling author, but he's somebody who really is in the forefront of public relations, somebody who understands what media can do, both good and bad. He's represented 58 Oscar winners, 34 Grammy winners, and 43 New York Times bestselling authors. He has consulted with 3 U.S. presidents on media, on perspective, and PR. Michael Levine, how are you?
I am well, and thank you sincerely for sharing your very valuable audience with me.
Well, honestly, it's interesting. I'm amazed at your life because you saw when the intention of PR was to stoke patriotism, was to stoke optimism, to stoke the principles of America. And you've lived through the bastardization of that. And now when we talk about Fauci, he's at the forefront of it as well, right? He gets his job in 1968. If you look at really his career, I find it to be scandalous. From the uptick in mandated vaccines, the HIV, where I don't know how people didn't go crazy, how he manipulated the government to prevent people who were infected with this disease from the medicine, inspiring not just a great movie, Dallas Buyers Club, but the true scandal of our time. And follow that up with COVID, the creation of it, the vaccines. I mean, it is a scandalous career. However, he was walking the tightrope up until he gave the mafia, I refuse to incriminate myself. And you've seen that since the 40s yourself. I mean, every gangster after Prohibition pled the fifth, just like Fauci. That can't be good for his PR, can it?
Well, friend, I think we watched a man, or a doctor, I should say, ruin a 50-year career in 50 minutes. It was remarkable. I never saw anything quite like it. I thought I was watching a Saturday Night Live parody. When Dr. Fauci is before Congress and refuses to answer what color his tie is, I thought, well, this is really now gone beyond anything that's comprehensible to any sane person. So I think not only has he, he's an 85-year-old man now. and he has ruined his legacy permanently in an hour.
So let me ask you a question, because from the way I look at things, and I'm going to tell you right now, I am a quintessential jerk. I'm more than a contrarian. I hate a lot of authority across the board. In fact, I'm trying to think if I like authority. I don't think I do. And when I saw, wasn't a scandal, it was a reveal. So from my eyes, he just revealed who he was. But keep in mind, when I talk to you, I'm from Chicago. And as you know, what is the authority other than mafia? Mafia is not two Italian guys talking about a line on Monday Night Football or loaning money to somebody who doesn't have any credit. To me, mafia is the short in the pants crime syndicate that ran Chicago into the ground, and New York and New Jersey, and the government in general. So when you step back and you've lived through all of his legacy in government and all of the failings of government in healthcare, the National Institute for Healthcare, I thought it was fascinating these last few years to see the reveal how many of these pharmaceutical companies were paying these guys. He himself, how rich he became by being a celebrity and a so-called scientist, of which, you and I both know, if you become a doctor or a lawyer, nobody knows how smart you are. You just get a lab coat and you get a law degree. So is it a reveal or is it a scandal? What do you think?
Maybe both. It might be both, friend, because it is a reveal in that it shows you just how corrupt the system is and was, right? That is not to say that COVID was not a very complicated and fast-moving matter. Of course it was. Terribly traumatic to a nation. But in the revealing of his own diary, it became so obvious. And then, of course, his 111 refusals to answer questions as simple as what color is your tie by invoking the Fifth Amendment, it did not look good for him.
And he did it with immunity, which is the double. I mean, you have immunity.
Yes. Oh, he had the pardon. That's the hilarious part. He had nothing to lose. What would he have to lose by saying, Senator, my tie today is red. It is red.
Yes, and he could have just went with the tagline, with the information I had at the time, I made the most prudent decision. Over and over and over again.
Correct. You're right. A bright 10-year-old knows that if you stand before Congress and you say 111 times, including what's today? What day is today? Wouldn't answer what day is today.
Yes.
So it's not good. It's permanently not good.
Well, the way, the other thing, too, you would only know this growing up where I grew up. The way it works is if you invoke it once, you can never answer. That's the problem with the Fifth. You invoke it once, you can never answer. Otherwise, you lose the protection of it. So it's kind of a little trick by smart lawyers. But this is something that I'm more curious to know.
I don't think those lawyers were too smart in that they may have done the right technical thing, but they ruined a man's legacy without question.
But I'm curious to know, because there's a fascinating reality of what we're living through. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I was not an early Donald Trump supporter. I wasn't. I appreciated him for many, many years. I remember, listen, and you and I both know, a rich man in the 70s was a rare thing, especially in these blue-collar areas. Not many people were rich. So when Donald Trump hits the scene in the 70s, and he shows up with the Fleetwood limousine in New York, and he's going to develop. New York was in tatters. It was a shambles. And he was at the forefront of the Reaganomics boom. Just go out there and get it. And he did it. And the gambling. So I admired a lot of what he did, but I was skeptical, very, very skeptical. And do you know why I was skeptical? You'll like this, Michael. I was skeptical because of his relationship with so many of the scallywags that had been both in Hollywood and in politics. And if you look at who he was friendly with, he was far more friendly with the enemy of my position, which is the Chicago Democrat or the California Democrat or whatever Democrat, than he was any other thing. But what he represents to me now is somebody who is that old throwback, that baby boomer whose father and mother raised him with a certain sense of patriotism. And that's really what you saw with the people you dealt with. You dealt with some huge names. from Joan Rivers to Charlton Heston. You've dealt with some massive people who I might disagree with nuanced positions, but I believed that they were patriots. Now I feel like the movement, the PR, for lack of a better phrase, among politics is to be anti-patriotism, anti-American success, anti-success. And that's really a change in society, isn't it?
Oh, it's a 180-degree change. It's a radical change. And a society that hates itself, a society that doesn't believe it's inherently good and is proud of itself, is a society doomed to a suicidal path. If you believe that we are fundamentally a bad nation, created in sin, and we are a disgusting, racist, vile nation, then this is a very, very bad thing for the future growth and stability of our society. If, on the other hand, you believe that we are an imperfect but noble society, that we are the hope of humanity, and that though we have many things to improve, we have been astoundingly exceptional. So, and that's a very good sign for the health of our society.
Now, there are those of us who will always believe the principles versus the propaganda, but that's because the ones like myself and my listeners, they're hyper engaged. So they're very smart. They do the research.
They're terribly active, right?
Correct. Yeah. And to me, what we've been living through, for the most part, is theater, right? In my neighborhood, when gangsters want to flip a coin with you, they tell you heads, they win, tails, you lose. So there's no winning, right? And I view a lot of politics as this, right? I see the bastardization of politics from George Bush Sr. To Bill Clinton and all the rest of it. So to me, it's a lot of theater. But I'm curious to know your perspective. When do you think America became a society that can never have a scandal? I mean, I'm amazed at the resistance of people to accept what is a political scandal. I believe we've experienced since Barack Obama became president, 50. If you go back to Clinton, that was amazing to live through that era. George Bush had scandals that were amazing with the wars and with other nonsense when he bailed out the banks at the end of his position. When do you think American society stopped having respect for itself and refused to be outraged at a political scandal? Because you've lived through it all. When do you think? Where do you think broke the conscience of America?
Sure. So there is a great line in the book, the novel, The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. And the two characters in this particular novel are discussing bankruptcy, and one of the characters says to the other, "How did this happen? How did this bankruptcy occur?" And the second character says, "Well, actually, it occurred in two ways. First gradually, then suddenly."
Yes,
Such
I loved
a
it.
great line.
Yes.
First gradually, then suddenly. So how did this occur? That where we are in America, how did this occur? Well, actually, it occurred in two ways. First gradually, then suddenly. And by gradually, I mean that our country took its eye off the ball and allowed little subtle broken things in all kinds of areas, and instead of confronting them when they were small, we turned our head and said, well, it's not that big a deal.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Here in California, 50% of elementary school kids in California go to a school in which there is no Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. Now you'll say, oh my God, how could that happen? Well, one day it happened with one class, and no one said anything, and then it was another class, and then it was 10 classes and 50 classes and 100 classes. Had we done something when it was one class, had we stopped it, we might have been able to eradicate the problem. But instead, we just turned our head and pretended it's okay, it's not a big deal, and we allowed tragedy to ensue. And the schools play a big role. The universities, of course, the colleges. If you send your kid to an elite university today, if you're a parent and you send your kid to an elite university today, you are literally playing Russian roulette with their soul.
Oh, absolutely. You cannot do it. But, I'm interested because here's the thing. You went out. You're not born in California. You went out to California,
I was born in New York City.
You're born in New York City.
Born in New York, moved to California in 1977.
1977, and I'm assuming you're not from a big money family trust fund, and you're not part of the Pinkertons.
No.
So you go out to California in search of what every American, your generation, my generation, and most of them, to build your own wealth, to build your own business, to build your own fortune.
That is true.
Like so many in California. And California at the time in 1977, I remember. I was a kid, but I remember it.
It was California dreaming. You know the song
Dream.
by the Mamas and the Papas?
Of course
It was California. It was paradise. Today, it is a decayed mess. Everything you see on television or newspapers or magazines about the decay of Los Angeles, it's true. It's worse than that which they report.
So I love California, but I've watched it collapse, right? And I'm very well versed.
It's unbelievable.
In the counties.
Is exactly right.
Right, and you still have those 74 counties that are rock-solid, decent people, but it's that minority county that destroys the entire state. So I have to tell you, I remember in the 70s, do you remember, I don't know if you would, there was a show that was broadcast in the Chicagoland area called Free to Choose, and it had Milton Friedman on it, along with Thomas Sowell.
Yes.
Okay? Remember?
Milton
and they
Friedman, Free to Choose.
They would debate the Chicago Communist Hub, that Saul Alinsky communist, and it was Frances Fox Piven and her husband Cloward. And they would go back and forth every week. And he would warn people at the end. He would give a little lecture, a little wrap-up. And he would say, if you allow the communist agenda, the Marxist agenda, the government supremacist agenda to take over the word liberalism, they will use it as a virtue shield to destroy the country. And I'm going back and I'm thinking about Chicago, because if you really believe in what this country is, the principles of it, and you go back to California, I'm in California, you go back to California in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, the true liberal is the one that doesn't want to force anybody to do anything. California is where a guy from New York, a kid from New York, could go out there and you could become one of the most important power players in PR. You could build a fortune.
Hold on now, Senator.
Yes.
If it is true, a young, scared, skinny kid with barely a high school education can go to California and do it. Right. If you're willing to work tirelessly, not
Correct.
40 hours a week, not 50, not 60, more nights, weekends. You gotta work hard.
Before cell phones and computers, before email.
Yeah.
You did it before all of that. So, but now look at what the true face of American or communism or all, it's really based in envy. These aren't kids that want to do what you did.
It's all envy.
They don't admire what you did.
Jealousy and envy.
And now you live in a state built by cowboys such as yourself. Really, you're a cowboy. You might not think you are, but you are. You went out there, you took it on, you did what you did, and now they're going to tax people, not on what they make, but on what they're worth. Did you ever think in your wildest dreams you would live through communism in this country?
I would never thought in my wildest dreams. I have friends who live in Chicago. I never thought they would say to me that they wouldn't hire the mayor of Chicago to be a cashier at a Walmart. Okay? He's not smart enough.
Yeah.
They have said this to me. I said, this mayor you have, it doesn't look good to me. Is it as bad as it appears? Oh, no, Michael, not at all. Way worse.
Well,
I never thought you'd have a mayor that made Lori Lightfoot look good. Is this possible?
That's rough right there. Because, I mean, you're hard-pressed to find an uglier guy.
That?
Michael Keaton and Beetlejuice would have been a tough one. But it's a fascinating reality to see this character of our country devolve into the envy that has collapsed everywhere from Havana to China to Soviet Union. Yeah. And are you going to tough it out? I'm curious to know, because I'm a big fan. I know what you've done, and I know who you've worked with. And I'm trying to think what your mindset is now, because you've got kids, right? Grandkids? What do you got?
No, I don't have children, actually.
Oh, all right.
No, I never had children. I guess my clients in certain ways are children. I'm married, but I don't have kids. And will I stay in California? I don't know. I am looking for options because it's the only responsible, prudent thing to do. But I will tell you that if we look at the very, very decayed cities, urban areas in America, right? And we can start with New York and then go to Chicago and then Philadelphia, and then we can go to Atlanta, and then we can go to Los Angeles and San Francisco and Seattle. And these are a lot of cities I'm mentioning. Portland. Yeah. What is the one thing in common with every single one I just mentioned?
They're all Democrats and they're all communists.
Correct. Yeah, they're all Democrats.
Come on now. You're not talking to Brandon Johnson. I can read.
Yeah. There is not one city I've mentioned, not one, zero, that is run by a Republican. Now, that's concerning, right?
Yes. So now I got a question before I let you go, because I want to take advantage of this. Yeah. You've intimately known some of the biggest stars in the most important time. Charlton Heston. As good of a guy as I think he was, or no?
Better. Class act all the way. And by the way, if you'll allow me, I'd like to share with your audience, if you'd be kind enough.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a new book out. It's called Authentic PR. Authentic PR, published by Simon & Schuster. And it is about the power of messaging in an authentic, transparent, and vulnerable way. So I commend it to your listeners if they're interested.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to get it myself, and I'm going to go through it. But I love the idea that you are writing this down, because your life needs to have reference to it other than people like me and the stars you helped and the fortunes you helped build and how you've helped your country with the 3 presidents you talked to. Who were those 3 presidents before I let you go?
They were President Ronald Reagan, President George Herbert Walker Bush, and Bill Clinton. 2 political parties, by the way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love the idea that you've at least written it down, and I can't wait to talk to you again. I'm going to go through the book, and we're going to have you back, all right?
Anytime. I'm honored to speak with you.
Oh, it's my honor,
You're an important voice, and I appreciate the honor of talking. You're sharing your valuable audience with me.
Oh, Michael, always my honor. Really, thank you. I look forward to the next time. You have a good night.
You got it. Bye.
Thank you. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
Marxists, socialists, and communists are not welcome on the Shaun Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.